welcome back to Constellation Station. I'm Nicole, an educator at the Cincinnati Observatory, and at Constellation Station we like to learn all about space. Today we are going to learn how to make a constellation out of things that you have laying around your home. So you get to choose your favorite constellation. If you aren't sure what constellation you want to do, we've talked about a lot of constellations on this show. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can find a lot of our constellation videos there. Once you have a constellation in mind, let's think about how we might want to connect the dots of our constellation. Today we're going to use some string to connect those dots. So we are going to make a lacing constellation. So we're going to need a few materials to make our constellation today. I chose to make Cassiopeia as my example constellation, and so when I'm making my constellation with you today, I'm going to make the Big Dipper, another one of my favorite constellations. So let's see what we're going to need to make our craft. We're going to need some sort of piece of thin cardboard. So I got this from an old cereal box, and just cutting a rectangle out of that. You're going to need some star stickers for decoration, some string to be able to lace on your beads. I recommend choosing maybe a little bit of a long string, because you can always cut it later. We want to make sure we have enough string to make it through all of our stars of our constellation. And today I'm using some special beads on my constellation. So I'm going to use some UV beads. These beads are activated by the sunlight to turn different colors. So they look clear when we put them on, and then when we put them in the sun, they're going to shine all different colors. To be able to lace into our cardboard, we are going to need a hole punch and some scissors. So if your hole of your constellation, your star, is close to the side of your cardboard, you can just use a regular hole punch. But if it's a little bit too far and you can't use your hole punch, you're gonna need some scissors, which means you might need help from an adult as well, just to be extra safe. And then finally, we're gonna need a marker so that we can write the name of our constellation on our piece of cardboard. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Once you have your constellation in your head of what you wanna do, we want to draw our constellation. So you'll want to just draw the dots of your constellation on here so that we know where the stars are going to be. So for my Cassiopeia, I made a kind of W, because Cassiopeia kind of looks like a W in the sky, and that's how I knew where to punch my holes. So on my Big Dipper constellation, I'm going to draw my little spoon, or pan, or kite. It really depends on how you see this constellation. So I'm going to need to do four dots as the cup part, and 3 dots as my handle. So that's the holes that I'm going to need to punch out to make sure that I can lace those stars in. So let's take a break and go ahead and punch all of our holes. Now I have all my holes punched. You can see I had to use my scissors here to make my holes in the middle, but it's already starting to look a little bit like the Big Dipper to me. So the next thing that we're going to do is start to string our string through our holes. Now, to start, we're going to need to tie a knot at the end of our string. Depending on the size of the holes in your cardboard, you might need to make a double knot in your string, because the goal is to make your knot thick enough to where it can't come through the holes where you're going to add your beads. So I'm going to double knot my string here and make sure it can't go through the hole. So let's do a little test. I did a double knot, and let's see how it works. That's pretty good. It can't make its way through the hole there. That means it's perfect. So now we can start adding our beads. So to lace on our beads, once you put your string through the first hole and tested the knot to make sure it's big enough, we're gonna add 1 bead to our string. So we're gonna wanna pull the string all the way through and then lace back into the same hole. So now my string is back on the back of my constellation. Just like that. And now we're gonna repeat that with the rest of our beads. We're gonna put our string through the back of our cardboard, pull it out the front, and then add our beads once we get our string through. And we're gonna do that for every single star we have in our constellation. strung through to make my Big Dipper. Now this is the tricky part. We're gonna need to tie a knot at the back. If you aren't very good at tying knots, you needed some help from an adult for the first knot, you can always just add a piece of tape to the back to tape the string to your cardboard. You don't necessarily have to then tie a knot, but I'm gonna go ahead and tie a knot by tucking my string underneath my string that I had for the previous bead and using that to help tie my knot. There we go. Now it's all tied. I can cut it with my scissors. And now I have my Big Dipper constellation. Now you can either maybe quiz your friends and see if they can guess what it is, or you can write the name of your constellation on your constellation here. So I'm gonna write the Big Dipper. So it's the Big Dipper. Now all you can do whatever you want to decorate your constellations. I'm gonna use some of these star stickers to add to my constellation here, because constellations aren't alone in the sky, right? They're surrounded by other stars that we see at night. That's why it's so cool to find constellations, because you have to sort of hunt through the sky to find them. You have to know what stars you're looking for. So these are gonna represent all the other stars that are around the Big Dipper that we have to hunt through to find the Big Dipper. There we go. I'm all decorated, and the best part is that I put solar beads on my constellation here. So you can see that they're pretty clear. They're not any particular color, but I'm standing right next to a window. So I'm gonna hold my constellation up against the window for just a minute to see if our beads change some color, because it's a sunny day outside today at the Cincinnati Observatory. Now that I've held it up, we can see that my constellation is all different colors. I have some purple, blue, green, orange, pink, yellow, all on my constellation. So have so much fun making your constellations at home. Send us the pictures of the constellations you made, and I hope you have a good time. We'll see you guys at Constellation Station next week.